The Call of Duty Warzone Pacific integration hasn't been without its fair share of bugs. The majority of those bugs have been on console users. So today we're going to go through the best controller settings for the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller and the best console settings. I'm running it on the Series X, but it can be applicable to all consoles. Let's get into it. So for the button layout, I'm using default. A lot of people do use a tactical so they can prone and slide a lot easier with the thumbstick, but because I'm using the Elite 2 controller, I use the paddles, but we'll get into the paddle layout that's preference for me a little bit later in the video. Stick layout, preference, default, vertical look disabled, so minimum dead zone. So as you can see here, I've got it set to the default value, but what the best thing to do is actually to pull this down all the way as low as you can until you don't have stick drift. So a good way to work out if you do have stick drift is to head into a game and pull up the minimap. That minimap will start to fade, and what you want to do is you want to adjust these settings until your cursor stays completely still, and you want to have it on the lowest sensitivity or the lowest dead zone value that you can before your controller sticks start moving. So for me, that seems to be about 0.2. It's a relatively new controller. The more you abuse your controller, the higher up you'll probably have to have that. So max dead zone, we keep that at 99. Horizontal stick sensitivity and vertical stick sensitivity. So there's a common misconception that the higher you have your sensitivity, the sweatier you are as a player. That's just not true. I think JGod said it really good in his settings video, but you need to have the ability to be consistent, and the more sensitive your controller settings are, the less consistent you're going to be able to be reliably, unless you're just sick at games. For the average player and the above average player, you probably want to start out with as low sensitivity as possible, see how you get on with it, and then if you start to feel things are too slow to be able to react to, then just bump them up one by one. So I started the game on a 4, I've come up to a 5. That seems to be my comfort zone. Some of the really good players that I know, like Benny Central, he only rocks a 6 on sensitivity, so just shows anything's possible. So for ADS sensitivity multiplier, I've got that on a 1. Custom sensitivity per zoom, I have that on, and what we've got here is low zoom, 2x zoom and 3x zoom should all be on around 85. All the rest of the zooms are stick to 1. For aim response curve, I've got this set to dynamic. I've also got this set to dynamic in my controller response curve settings for the Elite 2 series controller. I will show you that shortly. You want to have it as this. I did play on standard for a while, but dynamic seems to just work better for me. So your mileage may vary. Aim assist, keep that standard, you don't want to mess with that. So standard is the traditional, slows down when you're near a target. It also has that sort of broken rotational aim assist, so it's better to stick with that. It just is work. It works. This is the aim assist that all the PC players are complaining about. ADS and melee, get that on standard value, default value. Weapon mount movement enabled. Aim down sight behaviour is hold. Steady aim, hold, hold, hold. Reload behaviour, you want to use contextual tap here. Holding the button always reloads, basically prioritising the reload over the use. It's just better when you're in sticky situations. You don't want to be using a door over reloading, for example. Depleted ammo switch enabled, so it just automatically switches your weapons when you run out of ammo. Armor plate, apply all. So it's really important to have apply all on. This way, when you get into a sticky situation, you can just tap the button once. I do actually have one of my paddles assigned to this, which we'll go into shortly. You can cancel this. It's probably the best way to kind of be able to keep moving and not have to worry about putting in your place over and over again. Slide behaviour, this tap, it's much easier to slide cancel because you can just tap it, you don't have to hold it. Auto move forward is disabled, tack sprint is double tap. This is by default. Automatic tactical sprint, if you want to save your controller, save yourself a penny or 2, then I keep this enabled. It saves you from mashing that left stick. Automatic recentering, Yes, and parachute auto deploy. So it's hit and miss. A lot of people do have auto deploy on, but it depends. If you want to be racing to a chopper or racing to a point or gun on a rooftop, then you want to have this disabled. So with limited camera settings for consoles, I have camera movement on by default. Motion blur is disabled. Weapon blur is disabled. Film grain is 0. Dismemberment gore effects. As a content creator, I do like to have a little bit of that animation in there. Brightness is, my sweet spot is 60. I'm playing on a Samsung Odyssey G7 monitor, and that just seems to work for me, but you want to check out what's best for you. Standard quality, this does give you a bit more frames. There is a high quality pack, probably would make things look nicer, but for me it does the job. Advanced settings, I've kept the internet bandwidth usage on limited as I'm streaming a lot of the time, but you keep it on whatever works for you. I haven't got a daily download limit, so I haven't really looked at that before. Interface, so I don't use the colorblind settings. I know a lot of people do. Just for me, I'm not too interested. Keep that on. Minimap, you always want to be using square. Map rotation enabled. This just keeps you lined up. You don't have to kind of work out your bearings. Showing a compass enabled. Without it, you can't really give very good callouts. Same with letters. You don't really want to be just shouting out numbers. People won't know where they're looking. Kill feed duration is standard. Chat enabled. Again, all of these are just kind of preference, really. So for audio, I'm using boost high. For me, I'm using the Arctis 9X. So these are the Xbox supported headset. I do use them wired because I have a slightly different setup, but this seems to work for me. Master volume at 100, music volume at 0. It's just a bit distracting. Dialogue volume down. You can actually have this all the way off. You don't really need to hear any of those shout outs. Keep it on a little bit. Gives a bit of a bit more feeling. Cinematics volume, again, preference. A lot of people do have this off. Juggernaut disabled. Hitmarker sounds of Modern Warfare, not mono audio, you don't want that. If you want spatial awareness. Voice chat is all standard, but you do want more tracks as a passenger disabled. Keyboard and mouse, we obviously don't have any of that. So this is what we got. Xbox Elite wireless controller. I am playing it wireless, but I would advise playing it wired. You do have a little bit of input delay. I haven't had too much of an issue wirelessly. Maybe I'd have more of a precise experience if I was wired. Maybe I'll check it out. For now, I'm happy with what we've got. I've set up my own profile, as you can see, for Warzone, and we'll get into those settings now. So slot 1 is Warzone. We go to edit. So what I've done here is actually I'm only using 3 paddles, and that's because on this hand I find it really hard to use that bottom paddle. I want to be able to have a solid grip on the hand that I'm ADSing with. So on this side, on my left side, my left hand, I just have the Y attached to the top left paddle. This gives me really quick swapping of weapons, and it also gives me an opportunity to tap that when I need to plate without taking my right thumb off the thumbsticks. On the other side, I have A and B. So I have A on the top one. This allows me to jump, and B, crouch and slide on the bottom one. So for slide cancelling, it's tap, 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 tap. For the trigger stops, I'm using them on the harshest triggers. So for the left stick, I have it set to smooth sensitivity curve, and for the right stick, I also have it set to smooth sensitivity curve. I don't have any of the curve adjustments done. This seems to work for me. This gives me the ability to do those fine adjustments, and yeah, works for me. Vibration, I just set that, keep that as default. Brightness on the button, again, just default. So if you found it useful and you want to find your way back, drop a sub, drop a like to let YouTube know that this video has been helpful. Check this video out over here. Don't know what it is. Maybe you'll enjoy it. If not, Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Peace.